When people think about performance SUVs, this car doesn't come up very often. Is that for good reason, or are people missing out on a bit of an icon? Let's find out.
The winner is car right.
So BMW X4 M. Is this a bit of a secret beast or a wolf in sheep's clothing? I don't think you can call it a wolf in sheep's clothing because it's not really a sheep. It looks much more of a wolf. So maybe it's a wolf in wolf's clothing, but that's a bit of a weird analogy. The reason I mention that is because in aforementioned at the start, you don't often see these come about. People don't talk about these cars that often. And I think that's almost a good thing in a way. I look at this car and I feel like the baddie in a James Bond film would drive it. And I think that's a good thing. So let's talk about the styling. I really like the X4. What you basically have is an M3 or an M4 on drugs, on stilts basically. I'm really big fan of the coupe styling on the back. I do personally think it looks better than the X3 M, and that's my personal opinion. So this is the competition edition. So you get the high gloss black shadow line, really nice aggressive black kidney grills, load of trim surrounds as well. Importantly, these gorgeous 21-inch wheels, front and rear. I think this sets the car apart. I'm a really big fan of this. On top of the competition pack, you do get active sports exhaust, a lot of changes with the diff that we'll touch on in a moment. And you get upgraded brake horsepowers, up 30 brake horsepower to 503, although as many people that have ever known BMW as a brand, if you dynoed this car from new, I would be shocked to know it doesn't do any more than that, because that's BMW for you. So Al, just have a quick walk around the car. It's in Toronto red. I really, really like the colour. I think it absolutely sets this car apart. In the daytime like now, it's almost this nice, it's not flat in a sense because it is metallic, but it almost looks a bit flat in the day. At night, it's a really nice metallic red. It really transforms from day and night. I'm a really big fan of the styling of this car. It's a 20 plate on a 69, sorry. It just still looks really modern. I know it is still a modern car, but the styling of this car will continue. The quad pipes on the rear. I mean, there's absolutely zero concern if you own this car that someone isn't going to know it's not a standard X4. This car is absolutely wicked. I'm a really big fan of the styling. Let's jump inside. Let's talk about the interior features because this car is loaded and beautiful inside. So let's touch on the interior for the X4 M. Now, I've always been a really big fan of BMW interiors. Obviously, BMW's a driver's brand, and I think the interior synergizes that as well because everything's beautifully well driver's focused. You've obviously got a really nice screen. Obviously, BMW Infotainment Systems is notorious for being brilliant, works really well. But you've got all your other buttons, so your creature comforts, you can change your aircon, you can put your heated seats on without having to go through 14 different menus. The quality of life's really nice in here. This has got the upgraded interior pack for carbon fibre everywhere. Not only does it look really smart, sleek and sporty and just does transform a performance car like this, it doesn't scratch, it holds its wear over time, which is really nice. This car actually is coming up to 90,000 miles. You wouldn't know it if we told you, A, because of the build quality, but two, just how well this car's been looked after. We'll touch on that in a moment as well. As part of the competition pack, you get these beautiful upgraded M performance seats, illuminated M badging in the headrest, which is really nice as well. Not only are they ridiculously comfortable, the bolsters hold you in so nicely, so when you're really working this car and pushing this car around some B roads, your bum is firmly in the seat. Other notable options of upgrade: panoramic roof, sliding panoramic roof. Makes such a nice big difference to me personally. Yes, the rest of the car's black. If it didn't have the panoramic roof, sometimes I feel like the cars can be just a bit dark inside, so that does open the cabin up really nicely. Head-up display, really nice big quality of life feature. Once you've had it, it's very difficult to live without. It is interchangeable between M1 and M2, so the rev counter will change. You get a bit more of a sporty, sleek design. On top of that, we've got the advanced parking pack, so 360 cameras, again, really big spec feature. It's got wireless CarPlay, Apple CarPlay, all part of an upgraded feature as well. Harman Kardon, as you'd expect. Can't live without that. Really, really nice feature to have. And wireless charging. Everything else you'd expect now, Bluetooth heated seats, as I mentioned, electric seats with drivers, memory and adjustment as well. Something else that I've mentioned on previous BMWs is the steering wheel. The steering wheels are beautiful. I know that sounds really strange, but it's the one thing that A, you're holding on to when you're driving, but two, It just feels really nice in the hand. The actual thickness of the wheel is beautiful, really soft leather, and also the position's really good. The actual driver's position's pretty good. You do lose a little bit, I should say. You do lose a lot of the visibility because of the sleek design in the rear. But apart from that, it's a really nice place to be. Something that's really trivial, but you'll recognize it when I mention it, is this, Al. If you have a quick look, this is nice soft leather. Why does that matter? Not only because it's nice to look at, but when you're driving, certainly long distance, and you're resting your leg against the center console here, you've got a nice leather rest. If it's plastic or anything else, it's just not nice to rest your leg against. So it's just a little quality of life feature that makes a big, big difference when you're buying and owning this car, which you will, because if you're gonna buy when you're owning it, so stuff like that makes a big difference. So we've touched on the interior, really big fan, smitten with everything around. Let's get on with the drive, because I reckon this car's gonna be an absolute beast. So let's give the X4M a bit of a spin. This actually comes after, not long after we did the M4 video actually, so I'll be interested to see how these two compare. Now, funnily enough, it pretty much shares the exact same engine. Well, not pretty much, it does. It's got that S58, the all infamous inline six. This one, however, produces 503 brake horsepowers. 0 to 60 is varied. BMW will tell you it does 3.8 to 4. However, many people have proved them wrong from stock. A lot of people consistently, when reviewing these, get 3.6. So just traditional BMW there. On top of the 500 brake horsepower, 650 Newton meters of torque. So the car isn't shy of some nice pick up and go. We're off to Sheep Alley, so we will give the car a good run down there to see exactly what it's like. Top speed, limited of 155. If you've got the performance pack, you get 177 out of the car. Considering this is a 2-ton SUV, is quite frankly astonishing. Obviously, part of the S58, you get that very synonymous and famous twin monoscroll turbo, I should say, with each turbo running off the 3 cylinders. So one for each bank. What that means is, as we previously mentioned on the M4, the power delivery is so linear. There's pretty much little to no turbo lag. The car is an absolute animal, and something which is quite rare for turbo cars, certainly with high performance turbo cars like this, you can rev the car out beautifully well, right up into about 73, I think, is red line, but you actually do get power sort of past. They reckon peaks running up to about 6,800 RPM. I don't think it actually drops off too much after that, or 65, 68. So you can really work the car right through the rev range and get the most out of it, which is quite unique and rare for a turbo car. So we're up at Sheep Alley now. Thankfully the sheep aren't here, so mutton won't be on the, is it mutton? It's lamb, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, lamb.
Yeah, shepherd's pie won't be on the menu this evening, maybe a few birds. So let's spin it around. We'll do a rolling pull up to the speed limit, and then we'll see how it fares. So we're now in super spunky race mode. So the first thing to note is my head-up display is completely changed. I've got the rev counter in front of me, which is nice, so I haven't got to look anywhere else but in front. Hello, traffic. The traffic notifications work beautifully fine. So yeah, we're in super race mode now. Everything's in Sport++, so steering, suspension and power delivery. The gear changes are on maximum velocity as well. Now, we mentioned on the previous M4 video we did, it does have a really interesting diff with MDMM mode, which is a newish at this point feature for BMWs, which allowed a little bit more slip to the rears on cars. On a four-wheel drive car, this isn't gonna make too much of a difference, but the diff is brilliant in terms of allowing the right amount of power to the right wheel. So on that note, it's a nice and dry day. It's a little bit cold, but we shouldn't have any slip, so I'm expecting this car to pick up and go. A nice little rolling 2,500, 3,000 RPM, boosters spooled, and let's pump it. It pulls really nicely through the gears. Power delivery is so linear, and a really nice tone from that flat six. Quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very quick.
Alex is giving me the thumbs up of approval. So yeah, it's really smart how beautifully well. This car pulls right through the power delivery. Yes, granted, we did spool the car up a little bit, so we were cheating, but traditionally there isn't that much of a turbo lag. If you were just to conventionally put your foot down, traditionally it just spools and goes. It's that twin mono scroll, I should say, system that BMW implemented is brilliant for the car. 503 brake horsepower in a car that's 2 tons is lovely. This car would give a lot of very expensive supercars a run for their money. And we will do a back seat test as well, because there's loads of room in the back, which is a real big key feature. So we actually bought this car off someone we personally know and a friend through the business. The gentleman in question who owned the car previously, because this is a one owner from new, he used it predominantly for driving to and from one of his businesses over in Holland. So it's done genuine motorway miles, and there's not many people that could state that for fact. We can. So that's the reason why it's done 87,000 and a bit miles, because it's been motorway miles, which is the best thing for a car, really. Now, I am conscious we are in brackets an SUV, so the question a lot of people are going to want to know and ask are, is it any bloody good in the corners? Well, let's find out. So let's open the car up on some nice twisty B-roads then. We've got everything in Sports plus mode. In traction control is semi-off in MDMM as well. Gear changes we've got on the softest of settings. Not really too conscious of that now. The main thing is going to be a good test of how this car handles. Now, the first thing to note is, firstly, when you change the car into the sports mode, everything changes. Obviously my head-up display changes, all the settings change, steering response, throttle response, and that sports exhaust that you get as standard with the competition pack opens up to reveal how that S58 inliner straight 6 infamous BMW engine sounds, and it's very harmonious. It really likes to rev, and it sounds great right the way through the power band. It's very moorish. Now, the braking feels good. The braking feels very responsive, which is exactly what you need. Now, yes, the car is a bit heavy. It's just under 2 tons, but I'll be honest, you don't really feel it unless you're absolutely on the limit like we are now. Just a little tab of brake in. Does it want to understeer a bit? Not too bad, to be honest. That diff's really working very nicely through the car to keep it pretty much well planted when on acceleration through the corner on the exit. It does feel really, really nice underfoot and underhand, to be honest. The steering feedback is pretty nice and direct. The road we were going to go on is closed, so let's do a U-E and come back down. So yeah, like I said, look, unless you're really working the car at the top end, you almost forget that it is a big SUV, because it does handle so nicely and there's so much grip available. You'd sort of expect that with it being four-wheel drive, but for a 2-ton car, A, it doesn't half shift, and B, you can really start to throw it between some of these corners really nicely. It absolutely eats up these corners so beautifully. When we did a bit of the speed run, I was quite hard on the brakes earlier, and it can get a little bit washy and wobbly, which is a little bit unsettling, but then that's to be expected with a big SUV like this. That's nothing out of the ordinary, but sometimes it comes as a little bit of a surprise as we have to duck in for the tractor. Comes a bit of a surprise because, like I said, you have to remember you're in an SUV, and I think that goes to credit of how good this car is to drive. Is it as good to drive as an M4 and M3? No. Is it that far off? I don't think it is really. Certainly when you consider all the other features this car has to offer with the space, ride height, etc. It is a phenomenally well diverse car. I'm really going to open the car up on my straight here. The power delivery is so linear and it picks up so nicely towards that top end. It's so fun to drive this car, honestly. I'm going to keep saying it, you almost forget you're in a 2-ton SUV because it really doesn't feel that way. This car ticks a lot of boxes, certainly on the drive. I'm very smitten with it, to be honest with you. So let's just talk a little bit about the vehicle itself then. So it is one owner from new. Like I said, we know the previous owner. It's got full BMW and specialist service history. We've just had it done with the big brain boffin Dale at AutoWorks in Swindon himself. Previously that, it's got full BMW service history and 87,000 miles, but the car itself is in immaculate condition. Now, immaculate's a bit of a a loose term that we don't like to throw around in the industry, but considering the car's done 90,000 miles, I would argue it's immaculate for the age. It drives to boot and to match that as well. I just want to do a little bit of a more of a creature comfort when we jump back to base about sizing, sit in the back and boot, because ultimately this is an SUV, so we need to touch on those points. So when we get back to base, we'll jump on that. So let's take you to the back of the car now. Now I'm 6'1". A little bit of closeness on the headroom, obviously traditionally with the coupe styling, but legroom nice and comfortable. Ow, I guess you had your seat quite far back. It weirdly, actually, from my seating position in driving, there is more room than ours, so Al must have been chilling in the front seat. Also in the rear, if you can configure your climate controls, but it's got heated rear seats as well. But really nice, comfortable, luxurious car this. Load of room, which is good. Let's look at the boot as well. Naturally, we'll lose a little bit of space for the X4 against the X3. Still ample amounts. And yes, is there a need for me to do a boot test? I think that's quite evident. I can fit in the boot. Little bit of a secret compartment as well. So some more extended storage available to you there. On the whole, I am quite smitten with the car. Things I don't like, it's important to mention actually, and it's a catch-22 really. It does drive a little bit on the stiff side from the suspension. The competition does come with a lot tighter shocks, dampers and bracing as compared to a standard X4 M. But it keeps coming back to the case, it's if you bought an SF90, you don't complain it's too fast. You've made the decision to go and buy an SF90 in the same retrospect to if you buy a competition, competition is a race track performance edition in a sense of an M performance car, which already is very track drivers focused. So please don't buy it and complain about it, basically is all I'm gonna say. On the whole, I really do like this car, and actually I watched Matt Watson waffling on a test drive for the, he did his very traditional and very infamous races up on the airfield where he races against a Macan Turbo and a Stelvio QV. This car actually walked them both on the drag race. It just goes to highlight how quick this car is. It's a very strange car because it doesn't feel that quick. I think because of how capable it is, and with that four-wheel drive system, it's almost a false illusion, which is kind of quite nice. Can you live with it day to day? Absolutely. Should you live with it day to day? I think there's something to be said a little bit about being an underdog in a sense, or something that isn't quite established in its class or category. Now, for reasons of that I'm not too sure on, maybe it's because there's quite a lot in that range, X4s, 5s, 6s, X3s, so the BMW have got a very versatile range with it, but if you're after a mid-sized performance SUV, you really need to come and see one of these, because I think being a little bit quirky and different when it comes to something like this is a good thing. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, comment and subscribe. It is for sale within the business, so come and speak to the boys. But yeah, thanks for watching.